Joining us now to give his insights is retired U.S. Army Major General William Enyart. General, good to see you tonight. Thanks for making the time.
Good to be with you.
I want to ask the main reasons behind these numbers, because Trump, of course, is taking credit for this. It is true that we do see this surge in December numbers. It is also true that the increase began nearly a year ago, which is interesting, around the time the Army overhauled its recruiting. Why would we see this improvement starting a year ago?
Well, the simple fact of the matter is that of course, Mr. Trump is going to take credit for it. However, as you point out, it started a year ago. The Army overhauled its $2 billion recruiting budget. That's a pretty good sized piece of advertising change. Overhauled its recruiting budget, particularly with this future soldier preparatory course. And here's the problem that all of the military has had with recruiting, and it's not limited to the Army. But if you look at 100 young people today between the ages of 18 and 27, which are the recruiting ages, only 22 out of 100 can pass the requirements to get into the military. And that's due to three reasons. And none of those reasons have anything to do with DEI or wokeism or trans or any of that. The three reasons are mental, moral, and physical. Mental being that they didn't graduate from high school or that they can't pass the tests, the mental tests to get in. Number two, moral, that is that they have a criminal background, a criminal record that prevents them from getting in. And number three is physical. That is, they can't pass the physical requirements, generally due to obesity. So those are the three factors. And so you've got a military that's trying to recruit the top 22% of young people in this country. And guess what? Corporations, colleges, those are all trying to recruit those same young people. So the military's got a tough job ahead of it. And with the booming job market that we've had for the last 4 years, that's a tough sell to make for those recruiters.
Okay, I appreciate that context and information. I want to get your take on something. Doge and Elon Musk busy, lightning speed, in the past week and a half plus. Trump now directing Elon Musk to look at cutting military spending. What is your take on that, General?
Well, certainly, there's no question that the Pentagon is where the big bucks are in the federal government. You're talking about nearly $1 trillion, and unquestionably, there's waste there, and I don't know that there's fraud. That much fraud, but clearly the military wastes some money.
There are cuts to be made. I hear that. General, I do need to turn to one more topic before we run out of time. The beginning of potential laser warfare. The laser weapon system from the U.S. Navy. The Pentagon's been pretty tight-lipped about this project, but we're getting the new photos showing a recent test in action. Tell me more about this. What makes laser warfare a game changer?
Well, laser warfare can certainly be a game changer in that it's a new way of using kinetic energy instead of using missiles or instead of using artillery or instead of using, say, machine guns to take down drones or aircraft or missiles. You can use these concentrated bursts of energy that are highly focused and that frankly have much less collateral damage should they go astray. One of the problems with kinetic weapons, that is artillery and missiles, you can certainly have collateral damage, whereas lasers tend to be much more focused. And the only collateral damage that you'll get out of a laser is should it be misaimed or should, when the laser strike is successful and takes out a missile or takes out an aircraft or a drone, that then crashes into friendly forces and would injure them there. Oh. So laser absolutely can be a game changer.
Yeah, I appreciate that. A retired U.S. Army Major General William Enyart, thank you so much.
You bet. Good to be with you.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.